Namaste. Hi, Marcus, and today I've been guided to talk a little bit about consciousness, because we're all conscious. I'm conscious now as I'm talking to you. I'm aware that I'm physical. I'm conscious that I'm physical. I'm aware that I've got my feet on the floor, I'm on the ground, I'm in this physical dimension, I'm conscious of all this. And that's what we think about when we're talking about consciousness. We're conscious of something. But really, what's it all mean? I wish I knew. But anyway, we all know what it means to be unconscious. If, God forbid, anything should happen that you get knocked out, something happens if you faint, we're called unconscious. Unconscious means we're just not aware of anything, out of it, totally empty of everything. So you'd think consciousness meant the opposite of that, wouldn't you? Full of everything. And it does really. The thing is, when we're living here in the 3D, we're aware of the physical more than anything, because we live mainly physical lives. We stand up, we sit down, God willing, if we're able to eat, we're able to sleep and go into other realms, which is another story. But in the day-to-day life that we live, we're conscious of things. Conscious of the world, conscious of our daily thoughts. But how conscious are we of our actual higher self? How conscious are we of our upper bodies, our spiritual bodies, our astral bodies? In day-to-day life, very little. Except for some of us who are attuned to being aware of these things. Most people in day-to-day life, up to now anyway, in day-to-day life most people don't need to be conscious of these other worlds. It's like I was saying to someone the other day, we have incredible vision, but our brain filters it. If we wanted to, and I've seen this myself physically, if we wanted to zoom in on the pores of our hand and look into the middle of the pore and see the gap and the hole, we could, our eyes would allow that to happen, but our brain filters it. If we could see all these little microbes on our skin that are travelling around, walking around your skin, and if you could see your skin cells deteriorating, you'd freak out, you couldn't cope with it. So our brain is made in a way that filters the things that we don't need, because it will confuse us. It will take us out of our daily life too much, and we couldn't focus on what we need to do. And until now, that's been the case with our consciousness. We've been on a level playing field of wake up, to go to work, go to the fields, go to whatever we do in the day, eat, go to bed, sleep. Of course, when we sleep, we go into our dream state. And we go into these other consciousnesses, these other dimensions, these other worlds when we sleep. And we just think it's just, a day-to-day thing, a 3D thing. Well, it isn't. Mostly it isn't. Sometimes it is. Mostly we go into our other realms that we live in. And the thing is, now we're at this time of what we call Ascension. We're rising up. We're raising our consciousness to such a level from our heart and above, up to our throat, to our third eye, and to our crown, and upwards. And as we do this, as we raise our consciousness, we are able to connect easier with these other planes, if you like, these other realms that are always with us. We're always in, we're always part of. But because of the way we have needed to live our lives, they've been filtered out from us. We've had what used to be called, or is still called, in fact, the veils. The veils that we can't look through without doing certain things. So people that perform magic and things like this, and deep meditation and going into their higher selves, will have found ways that they can part the veils and look through, gaze through, and go into these other realms. Sounds a bit far-fetched, and it's not as Hollywood as I'm making it sound here. It's just means to an end. Kabbalists have been doing it for a long, long time, thousands of years, because they've known the secrets and the ways of doing this. Other people, Indian mystics, Asian mystics, people in China, you know, all over the world, people have been doing these things, and they call it various names. But basically, we're raising our consciousness, and we're going outside of our normal 3D world. And this is what we do when we raise our consciousness. We're able to connect, and in some cases, for some people who are more psychically attuned, some people can, I'm sorry about itchy eye, must be the itchy eye problem. Anyway, for some people, you know, they're more psychically attuned, and they can actually hear and see and feel things. For most people, we just believe sometimes that they exist. And like myself, a lot of people now, in the last few years even, have been getting more and more attuned by raising their consciousness to such a high level that they can get closer to these other realms, closer to these places where people can meet and blend in with these higher planes. So we talk about the astral plane, the lower astral plane, the higher astral plane. We talk about the spiritual plane. We talk about mainly connecting with our higher self, which is way up here. And that's what we really need to be doing, because what we need really is to have better guidance on how we should be living. And we should all be living in our hearts now, living a heart-centered life, thinking about the whole, thinking about the unity of all. And I was just saying on a video a few minutes ago, unity, something, I've never thought of this until recently, but if you break the word down, you and I tie. You and I tie. It's like, it's so obvious, isn't it? We're tied and connected to the oneness of all that we've come from. And we are always tied and connected. But because of the way we've been having to live our lives, we've had a filter there, filtering that away, filtering that off, because it was going to interfere with our development. Well, now we've reached that critical point of moving forward, and we can break through that barrier now easily, because these veils we talked about earlier, they're practically non-existent now. Where we used to have to pull them apart, we just go like this now, blow, and they open up, because the levels are so close. We're also closer to the different levels, and this is where we're at. So when we raise our consciousness, we can connect to all these places easier. And this is the work I do and others do. I do a lot of my workshops when I run them, and in my group work, to help people raise their levels of consciousness, help them become more aware. And this is something we can all do one way or another. So, just worth thinking about. It's always worth thinking about these things. I think that's it for today. Namaste.